I'm joined today by Dr. Troy Montgomery from the Department of Management. He's been on faculty since 2018 and has about 20 years of consulting experience with Bank of America, General Electric, and Humana. Dr. Montgomery, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we just want to start by talking for a few minutes about why good operations matter. You brought it up in class all the time, and we'd love to tell everyone about it.
Yeah, so a few things. One of the things that I like to do with the students, which you had the privilege of going through early on in the curriculum, I like students to read a specific HBR article. And that's one essentially for why operations matter. And it differentiates between strategy and then really kind of the back office getting things done. And so oftentimes we think about MBA programs and individuals in executive positions think strategy, strategy, strategy. And oftentimes that's on top because it's fun to think about where's the puck going. But what the HBR article tells us through, I think it's 12,000 different companies and some data around those companies is that performance excellence actually matters. And so performing repetitive tasks, standardizing those approaches, getting things done essentially can be a competitive advantage. And so what I like to talk to students is, yeah, strategy still matters. I'm not discounting that at all. But you got to have the execution side. And oftentimes we think about that being the back office. What I like to think about is that's actually the engine that adds value to the organization. So it can be a competitive advantage in many cases.
Absolutely. Is that also what you saw during your time before teaching?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of one of those that likes to look at things as let's get it done. And that's what operations is all about. So it's about bringing quality service to customers, a quality product to customers in an efficient manner. So cost, time, and quality, those are things that we hit on all the time in our class. So are we measuring those, and then are we bringing that same level of quality service or product at hopefully a lower cost using less resources to save the organization some funds and some money along the way.
You are also an alum of the UGA MBA program. So what would you say on the subject of competitive advantage would be the competitive advantage for this program?
Yeah, good question. So it's been a little bit of time since I finished my full-time MBA. But I was in the student's shoes, and when I was pursuing my MBA, I was doing it for a few reasons. One, I came from an engineering background, and so I wanted to augment that engineering background with some understanding of the business side of things. Two, I was also considering making a pretty large shift. So again, was in quality engineering for the most part, product engineering, new product development at General Electric at the time when I decided to pursue my MBA. I had a little bit of taste of operations management and leading a refrigeration line, a dishwasher line, so I got a little bit of that experience in leading large teams, and I thought that's something that I want to gain more of a skill set. I ended up here at the University of Georgia for a number of reasons. One, it was top ranked, and then two, really the collaborative nature of the program itself and it being a little bit smaller program. And I'll say I'm extremely happy with coming through the program. And then on the flip side, I pursued my doctorate at the University of South Florida and continued down the consulting path and considered teaching a little bit. So I thought I'd consult and then teach a little bit. A former professor of mine reached out, said that she was retiring, so somebody that I had in the program, and said, hey, this is a place where I wouldn't mind flipping that, teaching and then doing a little bit of consulting.
Wonderful.
So back to your question, though, some of the value that I've seen at the program is, one, the smaller size. I would consider it a very collaborative program, still an elite program, but you think about some of the other elite programs, a very competitive nature comes to mind for me, where I feel like at UGA the cohort works very well together and is focused on benefiting each other as opposed to competing against each other. I also think we see that from a faculty standpoint. Have a little bit smaller cohort. As a faculty member, I can have a little bit deeper relationship with some of the students that come with questions related to their career. And that's part of what I really enjoy about my job. It's not just teaching the content, sharing what it looks like in practice, but also making a connection and potentially helping others find their path and potentially a full-time or internship position.
Definitely. So what would you say to a student who maybe doesn't come with an operations background, but is, of course, taking your class, who might have some questions about where operations really fits into their potential future?
Yeah, and I've got students that are HR focused, that are in finance or accounting, marketing, and what I would say is you really have to understand the systems view of things. So for example, today in class in operations, we were talking about process analysis, process mapping, and it's a very collaborative type tool where I need to understand, all right, well, how does the sausage get made? And so if I'm in marketing, if I'm in HR, or any of the other business disciplines, I need to understand what my counterparts are doing. I'd also argue that in today's age, lean is extremely important. Doing more with the same or less amount of resources, which is a lot of things we discuss in operations. So the last thing is I'd argue that no matter what role you're in business, what you're doing is a process. So again, kind of back to some of the stuff we were teaching about today in process analysis. So understanding, like, how long do these activities take? What are the costs per transaction or the cost to hire? What does quality look like as far as the outcomes of what I'm trying to produce? Who are my customers, whether internal or external customers? So my hope would be that maybe I'd take a few and convert them into operations, but more importantly is I want to teach them to, one, be able to communicate with individuals in operations, understand how they think, and then also apply some of those key tools and concepts to improve the performance of the processes that they're doing, no matter what the business discipline.
Absolutely. Just to hit on one thing you mentioned there, doing more with either the same or less. During your time in consulting, when you had to have those conversations with upper level management, with executives who maybe value the strategy a bit more than the operation, can you give an example of a time when you had to have those conversations and really explain the backbone of operations?
Yeah, happen quite often because executives are concerned with a few things. And that's why I'll kind of flip and talk about, from an operations standpoint, those like you that are coming in with an operations background. I would argue that the MBA program is significant in understanding how to communicate the accounting and finance side of things. Because I'm an ops guy, love talking about cycle time, productivity, but executives don't care about that. They care about, how does that translate to the bottom line? How does that translate to increased revenue? How does that translate to profitability? So again, for me as a consultant, I need to be able to communicate that way and talk about, all right, well, how reducing cycle time is going to open up additional capacity to your business to generate future revenue. So I've got to make those links. Another big one that we often overlook is customer satisfaction. So on the service sides of the business, if I've got satisfied customers, then I can show a direct link to how that increases profitability, or how that increases revenue to the business. So again, that key is linking some of those operational metrics to the financials to help get those executives' attention.
Perfect. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Montgomery, it's been a pleasure talking with you this afternoon. We really thank you for your time.
Great. Appreciate you having me.